Hello and welcome, Yashaswini. So it's quite a privilege
Hi,
this
sir.
time. Bringing you on board this time not as a student but as a topper for the Toppers Talks. So that is a great thing, as a teacher. Actually, this was a kind of requested session. In fact, a lot of our students, a lot of people, it turns out they know you. I'm not sure exactly how, but
Oh,
they seem to know you or know of you. I'm not sure which one exactly, but they were always asking, is it going to be an offline session, online session, and so on. But unfortunately, and to people who will watch this a little later, okay, so sincere apologies. We've had the rains, we've had internet issues, power issues, all things today. So without any delay, we'll get started. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to ask you all the right questions that they would probably want to know. Okay. If
sure,
not,
sir.
apologies. Take care. So that is that. So I'm really thrilled to have you here. You were just a student just a little while ago, and now you're already a topper. So the person we're talking to is Yashaswini. Yashaswini, in this particular year, UPSC 2023 results that I've just declared, in April or May of 2024. It turns out it was her first mains. She, just correct me if I'm wrong, 375, 6.
Nine.
379th rank. Okay, so that's just phenomenal. So congratulations to you. A lot of people would probably want to know a lot about like how did you do it in your very first attempt, right? So, but before we go into all of those, so that's a short intro, right? So you basically started from here. So how would you basically talk about your background again?
As you've already informed, my name is Yashaswini, and I did my schooling from St. Anne's High School. I've been born and brought up in Bangalore itself, and St. Anne's High School was an ICSE school, so I guess having a strong foundation helped me in that sense. And then I did my 11th and 12th in State Board, Karnataka again, Bangalore again, in 𝗃𝗲 in Rajajinagar. And then I did my degree with BA. Surprisingly, after taking science in 12th, I shifted to arts. And then I did it from Malleshwaram MES College. And then here I am doing UPSC.
Okay,
So this is my
wonderful.
educational background.
Excellent, excellent. So you're a true blood Bangalorean. That means you speak multiple languages.
Yes, sir. I can
Okay.
understand multiple languages. I speak around 4.
Okay, that's a lot too. Okay, so that is wonderful. So you basically mentioned that you were a science student, then you were an art student in college, and then you basically shifted to UPSC, right? So what brought you to UPSC? What was your main sort of drive or motivation?
Sir, me taking up arts was for a different reason. That is, I did not clear NEET exams after my 12th standard. I cleared it, but I could not get a government seat. And my mother was dead set hell bent on making me get a government seat because she wanted good doctors for the society. That's quote unquote her words. And so I ended up taking arts after my attempt at NEET. And then I took up arts because I was inspired with UPSC again. Because every time I went to my mother's workplace, she would show me what an IAS officer, what it is to be an IAS officer, and it was not just about the powers that the person had. It's also about how. The person I met for the first time was a lady IAS officer, and the way she made everybody work was very inspirational and very motivating. So apart from that, seeing society has been one another factor that has influenced me getting into UPSC. My mother always believed that I had the required skill set to do something better for the society. So every time I see something wrong, I'd be like, okay, maybe we can change it. So whenever I ask my mother how to do it, she'd be like, maybe you go to a position where you can change it. So that somehow pushed me into doing UPSC.
That's wonderful. So you began your UPSC actually. So when we met, I think right after your undergraduation, you had already taken a prelims attempt just for experience or something, right? And
And not right after it, sir. I was still pursuing my undergraduation when I took my first attempt. I was in my final year, and my mother told me that we can apply even before our results are out. So I was super excited, and I just gave an attempt without any preparation, without nothing. I just gave one attempt, and I flunked prelims itself with a huge margin, of course.
You're very quick at everything. Okay, got it, got it. So when did your UPSC preparation journey start?
Sir, it was right after my undergraduation. Well, I took up arts with the purpose of pursuing UPSC afterwards because after 10th standard, I hadn't ever touched my social science textbooks. So there was a 2-year gap. So to cover it up, I took up BA as my subjects, like with history, economics, and sociology, so that it favors my UPSC journey. And then I started my proper UPSC preparation as such right after my undergraduation. In 2021, I was supposed to pass out, but due to COVID, I wrote my exams in 2022. And after 2022, I started my UPSC journey. And then your class was the first class that I ever ended up with, not GS, it was anthropology.
Is it?
And then, yeah, my GS
Mhm.
hadn't started yet.
Okay.
And then I went and joined my GS classes as well. And then like after my coaching in 2023, I appeared for my UPSC exams.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So you were like the COVID batch in college,
Yeah,
or towards
yeah,
the end of
COVID
it?
batch.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, my last semester was COVID.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, see, let's talk about your attempt. Okay. So, if we can talk about your preparation, I think you've given us an idea that, you basically invested the time from 2022, mid 2022, all the way till about 2023 prelims, right? So that you have given yourself 1 year head start, right? And then the exam process basically goes all the way for 9 months, and then 1 month later. In fact, yours was the last day of interview as well. So we'll cover it bit by bit. So how was your how was this attempt? Like how was your prep for like how did you sort of break down these 3 stages, starting from 2022 mid, since you began the anthropology course?
So when I began all this, I knew about how it is done, or that it has 3 stages and everything. But as we say, it's not like preparation ultimately should be done by us, but coaching classes guide us towards the right direction. So that I got it from the coaching classes itself. Until then, I wasn't aware of the exact pattern or anything. I was just blindly studying whatever is there. I wouldn't even keep a syllabus copy because I believed everything under the sun is asked. So I would just randomly study whatever I want. So coming to this place, I started with anthropology, and anthropology was interesting to me since beginning itself, because I have biology as my background, and then I studied sociology a bit in my college as well. So I could quickly catch up in the beginning, and giving that head start helped me it made me feel like I can do it. And then when I started my GS preparation, teachers guided me about what to study and how to study and everything. So in the beginning, I did not concentrate either that this is prelims oriented or this is mains oriented. I just did my classes, went back, revised, and did my statics properly. And that prelims based, like purely prelims based preparation started somewhere like when I was very close to prelims, maybe like last 2 months. That's when I completely started concentrating right on prelims. So yeah, that was my prelim stage. And then main stage was a different game altogether. Like I did not expect that I'll clear my prelims just like most of the other candidates this year, because we could not get proper key answers either. Every coaching institute had like too much of difference between their key answers. So I was not sure that I'll clear. And turns out I'd calculated my marks so wrong that I calculated it to be somewhere close to 68 only. So I thought I'm not clearing, so I was relaxing. So when the results were out, I was just reading random history book on Karnataka. And then I think I called you first, and then I was like, sir, I've already wasted 15 days. Other people have 15 days of head start because had an idea that they would clear prelims, and I did not. So, and then I did the same thing. I went to my GS teachers as well. I took coaching at Insights. So there, I went to my GS teachers as well and told the same thing. And as every mentor should do, you guys just motivated me, and you were like, you can do it this time. And then I started my mains preparation. I would write answers, but not very frequently. I wasn't a regular person to practice mains answers before. I would just write them on weekends or something like that. But after my prelims result, I started writing answers every day. I would attempt GS1, GS2 one day, GS3, GS4 another day. And every evening after going back home, I would do my anthropology. And you know that better, sir. Like, you know how much we would do anthropology after every evenings until late nights.
Actually, that is one of the
So
points
that
that I've
had
written
been
on what worked for you. But yeah, you give me a
yeah.
sort of idea.
Sure, sure.
Mm.
I have a lot to speak about that. So yeah, you can
Mm.
actually have another section for that.
Mhm.
Anyway, so like after that, I started doing this for the next 3 months. That's what I did until my mains came up. So every day it was just GS, Anthro, GS, Anthro. And I had to focus more on writing rather than reading in those 3 months because one, I realized I do not have enough time to read right now. And two, I realized I can somehow generate something on spot, but where I'm suffering is about getting that quality one. But secondly, but more importantly, I was suffering with completing my paper itself. So irrespective of how much I know or how much I do not know, if I don't complete the paper, I realized it's not useful anymore. So that's what I had been focusing on, even in GS and even in anthropology. So I guess that is where I started working on completing my paper in time. That had been, and by the end of like around third round of my mains test series, I was so tired with everything. I felt so stagnated. I did not want to write my papers at all anymore. That's how much I had written. Every day it was just writing 20 questions,
How much
20
would the
questions per
stacks be?
paper.
You just sort of like
No,
stack
sir.
it up.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's a lot.
I think
Now that
Anthro itself
I
will be like
look
higher
back.
than your laptop screen, I guess.
My Anthro is higher than my GS material for sure, and of
Mhm.
course much higher than my laptop. And, we had a class test, Anthro is I'll tell you all about Anthro separately. So I have so much to say about Anthro again. So anyway, so like this GS, so mains went that way, and there was a class in there was a course, 16-day long course with insights, and that really helped me with my GS preparation. And I had very little time to prepare by the end. Like it was also overwhelming. I did not have time to concentrate on what is the right, what is the wrong strategy or anything. I was just going on doing what I had to do. I knew I'm slow at writing. I just wrote. And every time I felt doubtful about myself, I just had to call you, or I would just go to my other mentor at GS and ask him what to do with the rest of the GS. So it was that. And mains just passed. Mains just flew by. I don't know what happened in between. It was almost like I was mechanically working towards it. And then the exam experience totally different that day. The feeling was so good, but then it was also quite overwhelming when I went there. And we had other issues, like the desks were very wobbly and stuff. But they tried, the center people tried their best to help us. So it was another thing. And making sure that the previous paper do not affect our next paper was another thing, sir. And yeah, somehow Anthro passed by. And those days, those little gap between GS and Anthro was another thing. You wouldn't let me you wouldn't let me take enough breaks at all during that period.
Or let you sleep. Your mother
Yeah,
told
let
me,
me sleep.
your mother told me that, she was worried about you not sleeping enough or, sleeping very
Yeah,
late in the nights and all of that.
yes, sir.
See, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
She would have to like call me thrice for my dinner also. That like she would always come there and be like, dinner is ready. I'm like, yeah, 2 more minutes, and I would never go back to dinner. Yeah. I mean, but I guess all that paid off somehow,
Mhm.
especially in Anthro, sir. I'm not telling this to you just because you're my Anthro, sir, or anything, but I realized that my scores were greatly influenced with my optional subject. That's why I'm telling you this. Yeah,
You
and
ranked
after that,
basically.
after mains, yeah, ranked basically. And after mains, interview was another thing. I was initially very worried because this was my first time, and mains and everything, we have enough test series and other things. Interview, we just know what mocks give us. We don't know how it is really done in the exam. So that was kind of worrying me a lot. But yeah, I was very worried, and I took up a lot of mocks in the beginning. Around February, I started taking up so many mocks. I took somewhere close to 7 to 8 mocks. And then all of a sudden, there was a huge gap because mine came. I wanted it in the first phase, no. Second phase, no. And then in the third phase, I got my interview call, and then turns out it was the last day. So yeah, until then, there was this huge long gap. I would read transcripts very often from various Telegram channels, and but I tried my best not to frame opinions or ideas about any board member, because I didn't like. For example, when we say Raj Shukla sir, he's from army background, so we didn't like if I had that concept preconceived notion in my mind that going there I should ensure that I don't step into defense sector because he might ask me, he'll be an expert in that. So I did not want this to affect my way of answering. So I tried my best not to let any of those get into me. I never researched on any of those persons. I just went there, sat there. I got BB Swincer board, and yeah, while going, I was very, very nervous and everything. I was excited, but much more nervous. But when I went inside the room, I forgot everything. I forgot what I had to do. I forgot what I learned from the mocks and everything. I was just there sitting. They were just talking to me. I was just talking to them. I did not realize 25 minutes fly by. And by the end, they tell me, your interview is over. You can go now. It was a very pleasant experience. And this exam itself, so the whole process, no, I had a lot of fun, like be it working towards it or be it attending those exams itself. Everything was a very pleasant experience, new and great experience.
It is a very pleasant experience because at the end of the tunnel, you found light. Okay.
True,
Generally,
true.
this is a harder exam than even NEET exam, right? Actually, when I began, I used to be NEET faculty. Okay, so it's very different wahan pe because what exactly are the questions going to be like, okay, and what exactly is it that you need to know. Okay, but here you study, as you said, right? You have so many things that you could do. Even if you take your optional, you can do everything, and they could still find bounces for you. Right. So this is more about your temperament. How do you basically handle it? Can you handle it better than the others? These kind of things basically come into the picture. But at least, you said that you enjoyed the process, and that's very good. How did you structure your day for mains and all of that? For mains preparation. In fact, I'll just tell you this. I don't know if you remember this. A lot of students basically call me, sir, I think I'm close to the border in paper 2. I think I'm close to the border in paper 1. What do you think will be the cutoff? I said 78 to 80. I think that's what I had said. And it's in my channel. I had to just check. Turns out it is 75. Okay? But you were very confident, sir, 60s. Okay, so whatever is the cutoff, I'm nowhere close to it. You were so convinced, right? So it's like, okay, so now is not the time to think about like mains at the moment. Let's see what I can do, is basically what you said. Until about the results came. Okay, and that surprised you, and that surprised me a lot as well. You were so convinced that nahi ho raha hai, sir. Right. And then, then after that, we basically started a little late. I remember you had some classes that are going on. I think some long-term program that you had basically taken up. And then you basically began with mains. And I remember telling you, and even during the course, I told you guys that, see, if you make it, okay, and provided you have done the course well, meaning course mein bahut sare jo hai na, like you have your assignments, you have your handouts that you have to do, you have your weekly wala test. And if you basically go through the course and like one round of test series, you're actually prepared. There is a very strong chance that you can actually be in that list. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, and I think you were a little more confident, or maybe you were not that fearful. Right. Okay. Maybe you did not worry so much about the results, but once you got into that journey and then, being in that library and somebody's doing this, somebody is doing that, should I be doing this? But those were like very, very, I think once in a blue moon, right? That's what you would have. But you had a particular path. We had set up, that standard 20 tests, and sort of. I think one more thing that possibly made this journey a lot more fun is we minimize the sources. Okay. And you mentioned that was your strategy from the very beginning, even for GS. I think the way you put it is like your entire mains was a strategy that you did not want to study more, you wanted to write more. Okay, because you felt you have enough or you will have enough. Okay, but what I have, let me see if I can put it into the paper, right?
Yes, sir. So yeah, when I say that my journey was pleasant, one thing I have to mention is it was not always pleasant because that just sounds very ideal. It was a pleasant journey overall. We would always have our ups and downs in our daily lives.
Like a pleasant
So yeah,
challenge.
when you mentioned, yeah, pleasant challenge, true. And every little joy of life. So for example, like after studying for the whole day, just going down and having tea with people and then talking to them about what we did today or something, or even random talks would relax us, would relieve us so much after that huge work thing we have done. So yeah, there were like little things that happened. And yeah, the source thing that you mentioned, that's very true. Like having very minimal sources helped me a lot because uh, it helped me revise the same thing a lot many times. Rather than taking up many things. When I told you, I mentioned about the 16-day course that I took up at Insights. So that was another thing. That 16 days were just about making notes. So I did not have to concentrate about making notes for the rest of the 3 months, where I would just concentrate on writing. And every time people come to me and ask what sources I refer to, I just say like, I just had my class notes. They'll be like, really, did you not take this book, X book, Y book? Like there are a few famous books in anthropology, and I'd be like, never opened them, and they're surprised by that fact that I never had to open those books. I the fact that I did not open them kind of helped me not feel that FOMO, fear of missing out on all those things. Because had I like listened to them and then started taking out those books and then see those and then be like, oh no, I haven't covered this, I haven't covered that. I think I have lesser material on this. I had no such things ever happened to me because I never ever opened that other books. I guess it was about choosing the right mentor and blindly trusting him or her is one thing that I did, and that somehow helped me do it. Because we usually have our doubts about when somebody says, just trust me and take one material and read it. We have our own doubts because UPSC is so hyped up that it is very difficult and everything. We want everything that is available, and but we forget that it is not capable in our human capabilities to cover all of that. We forget that part, but we want to accumulate everything. We become collectors even before we want. So that way, I guess keeping minimal sources helped me a lot. I guess I don't give enough credit to it, but yeah, it did.
The one thing that really stood out right now is basically you mentioned that FOMO, right? And I think that happens to everybody. I think, as I said, once in a blue moon, you would say that somebody said, you have to go through this particular book. And I used to tell you, matlab, reading is not your job, okay? It is my job.
Yeah,
Jo aapko chahiye, that I'll basically give you that, and don't worry
yeah,
about
yeah.
anything else,
I
you know?
remember those days where like every time I'd be like, oh, sir, they're reading that, they're reading this, and you'd be like, hey, Yashaswini, just go do what you have to do. And if you feel like you don't have enough material on any topic, just make a note out of it and give me those topics list. I'll do the research for you. You'll just have to read about it. Yeah, I remember those lines. Those were the best lines. I keep telling everybody around me that I never had to research anything on anthropology, and I got some very well researched, unique material for all for myself. I keep telling that to people.
And I think that uniqueness also helps to a great extent. I've mentioned this in the past also, because I've seen this year on year, especially when your answer stands out, even if it's a similar sort of quality, generally the marks are higher. Okay, because it's very difficult to differentiate yourself when you have, let's say, 400, 500 papers that a person is correcting. Okay, let's say a faculty member is correcting, going through all of these, the highest score is going to be for, let's say, 10 people. Matlab 20 people. Kitne log likh rahe hain? There are approximately 2,000 people writing with Anthro. You get the picture, right? So how do you ensure that your
Yeah.
paper stands out? So to have your paper look slightly different, that matters a lot. Okay, and there is also this usual trend that, a few years ago, it used to be this, I forget the names of the books, okay? It used to be this Vivek, I might mispronounce the names, okay? So Vivek B, okay? And then, after that, there's a blue color book, Akshat Jain, okay? And then after that, I think it is, so basically what I see is that people basically have similar sort of answers, and that basically changes by season. Right, who has done best? Okay, so इस साल का टॉप का कॉपी कुछ आता है, दूसरे साल का आता है. In fact, even the diagram, the labeling, the everything basically looks very similar. Okay, and that is one thing. Okay, and second thing, I think it's also like a lot of your competition basically spends a lot of time in doing that research. I generally tell students, okay, in case, just like you, I mean, you have the credibility, right? So you can basically say this. Those 3 months are not for you to read and research. Okay, let's say that you've been preparing for a couple of years, let's say prelims nahi hua, all that, okay, theek hai, you do all of these things, but at least from ours, I would tell our students, okay, you stick to our class notes, our handouts, okay, and everything else that is required will basically come as a value addition. Okay, and not only that, you cannot go to sleep even if your mother wants you to go to sleep, unless you ensure that you memorize everything, okay, for that day. In fact, I have some of the messages that I was just taking a look at. I was trying to see how you had done in your mains, like what was our thought process. In fact, I'll just mention a couple of things that I thought that really went well for you. Okay, this year. First thing is, as I said, right? So you were a little, you were not fearful. Okay, this is my first attempt. I don't think you worried about all of that. Okay, or maybe you were so worried that I could not see that difference at all. Take, I don't know which one exactly it is, but I generally felt that you started late. Okay, I think your first test was the last person to start. We basically took a small bunch, right? I think we had around 20 people, out of which
Yeah.
18 of them wrote mains. दो लोगों का mains नहीं लिख पाए. I mean, because of some personal issues. Out of which I think 11, 12 of them basically got interview call. In this all, you basically started the first test the last. I think it's because of results, and I think that starting trouble was there. Okay, and that is something that I had noticed. First 6 tests, I think you were slightly on the slower end. Okay, but the first 6 tests are generally to cover your syllabus, right? Okay, and and once you did that, and I don't think you worried so much, and I think we had that sort of like, you had that kind of understanding, right? जो पता है उससे लिखो. Right, a lot of people basically take the paper, they will start with that answers, they will write 5 6, and then they stumble upon a particular question, they're like, oh, I'm not prepared enough. Okay, what do I do? What do I do? पढ़ के आते हैं. Right, and this basically gets postponed to the next day. That means, the next test also basically gets postponed by the next day, and that basically means your GS, everything basically gets shifted. Rather, you basically had this habit that whatever it is, let me just write it. Okay, even if it is like, it has nothing to do with this particular question also is fine, but this is my attempt. Right. Okay. So it just basically gave me this idea. Okay. So what all I have to basically add to your answer and things like that. And we used to have that pre-session and post this thing wala session, right? And after that, you basically went. You did not have much of an issue in terms of like speeding up. I think the minimization of the sources basically help a lot. Okay. So this is all I need to know, and anything else I'll basically get a little later. I'll tell you. So see, for instance, what students have told me is that they are all convinced that you are Karnataka topper because officially there is no announcement as such. And until you get that official scorecard, it's hard to tell. But what students have told me is, at least from all the students who have gone for interview, because you guys know each other and yes, ab to hota hai, from that particular crowd, you are definitely one of the highest. And I think you're one of the highest, in this particular year. Okay, so the highest score has been 300 plus. Okay, and we also have students who are like 156, 157, 153, 151. Yes, sab to hai. But overall, if you see, even in the top 100, you have students who are around your range, 30 something. They were saying 30s mein there are a couple of people, 60s mein there is somebody, but there are a couple of people who are much higher. Okay, but overall, it's just fantastic for somebody who has barely begun, right? You were saying ABC a year ago, and now you're basically the one to give advice on what is the right way to sort of like score well. See, one thing is, you may not remember how you basically started in June. Let's say even in June, if you feel like you were not very well prepared to basically begin, that is only the nitty-gritties. Okay, but the overall understanding of anthropology from the course itself, I think most of you guys remember it like a story. Okay,
Yeah.
Judgmani system, human evolution, hominin evolution. Maybe you don't remember which is a sequence, what is a branch, and who said what, all those kind of things. But that entire sequence of anthropology, I think you had a much bigger macro perspective. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
it's I think more about filling in the details. Would you? What's your thought on this?
Oh yeah. If I'm supposed to like particularly talk about anthropology and what worked in anthropology to the best of my knowledge, the first thing I would mention is that you knew me as a student, not just as a test series student. You knew me as a classroom student, so I guess that helped you understand me better as well. And the second thing being the class itself, like taking the classes, as you mentioned, was more like a storytelling. So yeah, you remember how we had a birthday at the same time when you were explaining the generalized reciprocity and the Kung tribes. And then we had to cut all those cakes, and we were like, oh, we're all the tribes, and we'll cut it into equal pieces and all that. So those stories we remember for much longer than just normal recitation of words in the textbook. And maybe the Ashantis of Ghana, how the husband and wife live in different homes. He gave us this situation where the children are carrying freshly made meals from one house to another in the village because they're all from the same village. Yeah, I remember all such little stories that we had about everything. And the class as a whole was more we were very competitive in the sense that we all write the test. We would be like we would ensure that we would urge others who are not writing the test to come and write the weekend tests. And right after the test, we had our own little celebrations that we did. And even during the class, we had our Copico celebrations where we would just spread candies and everything. I guess all those little things mattered a lot because it helped us develop into a closely knit group where we studied together, where we played together. It was more like a school thing for me. And that helped me remember concepts better, understand the concepts better. And coming again back to the test series, yeah, your pre-test sessions and post-test sessions. During our post-test sessions, we would discuss about where I went wrong or where I could have improved and everything. So that is another thing. And when you notice that I'm not reading your extra tidbits of answers that you're giving, you started like being you started focusing more on that because you realized where I'm not working, and you started targeting me about that, and those bits and everything. So yeah, everything kind
I
of
don't
added up
remember
at
all
the
those,
end.
but I am sure that, I have nudged you a little more certain days than the other days, right? Let's put it politely
Yeah.
like that way, right? I remember this. In fact, because you mentioned about the class, now, and the beginning of our class itself, it was my birthday and 𝗵𝗍, and we had celebrated that birthday in which you gave that anthro song. I think we have a video of it, right? It must be in our group,
Yeah.
right? We'll just take a look at it.
I was very nervous. I wrote it down, but I wanted Kishan to read it, the other classmate. But he wouldn't read it because I wrote it, and you all forced me to read it out loud. And me being very shy in front of the whole class, I was trembling and very nervous. I was shaking. My voice was shaky as well in that video. Yeah, I
But
remember
that
those
was in
days.
the early part of our batch. I think it must have not even been.
That was just like 2 weeks to 3 weeks into our
Well,
classes,
that's
I guess.
fabulous if you could do it in like 2 to 3 weeks. In fact, I'll fetch that. Okay. But yes, so I agree with this thing that, it was actually a very good batch. In fact, I was speaking to 𝗵𝗍 even last night. Okay. From our batch. Okay. So it's a pretty good batch. So you basically came with a much better macro understanding, but not the nitty-gritties. Nitty-gritties, I think you have basically done it in those 3 months. Okay, but overall
Yes, sir.
understanding, I think if there was anybody, so compared to many other students, if I give you any question anthro, I think 8 out of 10, you would be able to write something on it. Okay, Matlab, you will get base marks on it for sure, and it will be to the point. Okay, it will be to the demand of that particular question. You would basically get the essence right. Maybe you just don't have enough sort of like depth in order to be able to sort of substantiate it and make a strong answer out of it. Okay, that is point number one. Okay, and because all of these things are something that we still have to do because you're going for is bar not Karnataka first, but national first. Okay, because mains is basically what matters, right? So you try to target for a much higher sort of a score in the mains. See, another thing is that, okay, the other thing that we basically talked about, that's minimizing of sources. And I think that's very, very important. Well, hamare students ko to I just tell them, right? If there is something that comes in that exam and you don't know it, it is not your fault, it is my fault. Okay, I could have, I'll give it to you during your course, okay, or during the tests if you go through the entire thing. In fact, I don't think there was anything new, right? I mean, you could still use a lot
Um,
of things that we had gone through.
Add one more thing about what might have worked out for me. So when you said about this nitty-gritties and how I could not cover it, I am personally a student who cannot remember those little facts. Even in GS, like if I'm supposed to write about health in India, I would probably mention majority of women suffer from anemia rather than mentioning that um, 3 out of 5 women or something. So I'm very bad with facts. So I would just go with generalized answer style. So that has always been my case. But when it comes to anthro, I could remember all those fossils names and the like Raymond Dart or those orthodontokeramic stuff and everything, and even those tools and everything. It was mostly because we had our little quiz sessions in the class, and then after that we had our short notes. We would like randomly pick people and ask people about random dates and random facts, and we would all be so competitive about it and answering all the time.
Looks
That is
like I've
another
tortured
thing
you
that
guys
short
enough
notes.
in class. I remember that. Yeah,
You
we used to
haven't
start
taught
basically with,
exactly.
I remember we used to start with
Quizzes
a
every day.
quiz.
Yeah.
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 It used to be fun, and it used to be like MCQs, not MCQs. It is like fill in the blanks, right? So Raymond
Yes.
Dart, okay, which year did he find, did he discover your Australopithecus africanus and so on and so forth? Okay, so yeah, that is one thing.
And about
Okay.
those drawings as well, those 30-second drawing videos, drawing stuff we had, all like completing
With a
that
timer
skull.
in class. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, all those skulls we had to do, Grimaldi man skull and everything in 60 seconds, boxing, labeling, everything. Yeah.
That also, you guys used to be very competitive about it. And then, how do you judge? It is like, your peers will basically judge which is the best. Okay, so those are good times. Okay, so yeah, definitely. In fact, that is also something that I've written. In fact, like the diagrams of our class students are generally a little better than others. Okay, because it is like cursory, a rough kind of drawings for most of the people. But for you guys, if you draw what is a Grimaldi is different from a Chancellery is different from a
Magna,
whatever it
yeah.
is. Yeah, so Cro-Magnon and so on and so forth, right? You have, in fact, like Apka, like you even know the angle, like which guy is looking to which particular direction, which one, so all those things are like kind of done a lot better. And in fact, you are already good at drawing, right? So especially with the primates and the fossils and the tools and things like that. So that is definitely another one. And also, I'll tell you one more thing. Okay, so you were also very good at taking or following the advice diligently, right? And I think again it goes back to you mentioned this. I think it makes kind of sense, right? You have a mentor and just blindly trust that mentor and just give it all, right? And that is basically it, because I have given a lot of validation to the others as well. okay, depending upon where I feel like unka weakness hai and all of that, right? But you mentioned that, you were not integrating it, and then eventually I got you to integrate it. I got you to sort of memorize it and things like that. And I think I know why you did not sort of like integrate it in round two, because you're studying the next wala topic. You don't have time to go through the FLT and go through, because bahut sara deta hu na. Okay, you didn't have the time, but I ensured that you remembered everything by the time you came towards the end of your FLTs. I was doing some research on your paper just to, just to know. I could not open all the papers because I didn't have internet to open this thing. But I'll tell you, that is one more thing. Okay. In fact, you are one of those people who have incorporated almost all of the feedback. Okay. I'll give you an example for this, right? What really struck me is that I had mentioned this to, and most of our students are basically first time mains. Yeah, first time with me. Okay, not been to interview, the first time wala crowd. And a lot of people basically have this writing ka challenge. And I generally tell students that, anthro is not something that you can finish. Okay, GS mein ho jata hai because you don't have much to think, but anthro mein the questions are very specific and it asks you for one particular dimension of a question that you may know, may not know. Okay, but if you think you might be able to generate some good points, I'll take some examples also. And one of the advice that I'd given is that morning may you basically take up that 35-minute session and take like a 10 markers, or that 20, 15, 15, and write it every single day until you feel you're able to do justice to it in the first 35 minutes. Okay, because that's basically what you're going to get in actual exam. Okay, and I remember every time I basically spoke to you, you were doing that. Okay, and more so for GS, but like 1 hour ke liye you had that target wala thing. Okay, I didn't basically have to follow up. Right, you would basically tell me that, this is basically what I've done in the morning. But for the others, they not as much, right? Because there's so many things to do. Okay, it's very difficult to follow everything, but you did. Okay, and I think that also basically helped to a great extent. Another thing is that your paper was generally unique. Okay, because I generally basically change our handouts batch to batch. Okay, to a great extent. Now it's like a lot more different, but from your batch, you were the one writing the mains. Okay, and generally whatever you write is like kind of different. Okay, so ye hota hai. But as I said, for the others, a lot of them basically depend on the same sort of sources. Unka stats, uska sources, the sequence of those points, everything will be kind of similar in many standard questions. Unless if it's very analytical, jahan pe aapko soch ke you have to do it, then it might be a little different. That is another thing. Okay. See, a couple of other things that I remembered. Paper being unique. Okay, and I think that matters. Okay, so this year also, when you think about this, right, you try not to change your style, right? Because your style is basically uniquely your style. Okay, and that is something that you develop from the class duration.
Yeah.
Right, so you basically worked on it, and then I think we worked on your conclusions, and I think you have a natural flow to it. But usme kya integrate karna hai? Okay, those kind of things we can do. But overall, I think that was like you already have it. Generally, papers don't look like that. Okay, so
I remember, so you would call me half-boiled egg in the beginning.
did I?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can give me the context, because that doesn't sound right. That sounds.
No, because I had a very not a paragraph style, not a point style. It was a mixture of both that I would write, and my introduction and conclusion, according to you, had a flow, but it could have been better. So you would, so like you had to work on a few bits where, but I was already half done. So you would call me an half-boiled egg.
Mhm. Okay, so during the course, it's like very different, because I'm looking at what you had done and what I did take a look at right now, because you're talking about introduction and conclusion. You had great intros and conclusions in the sectional tests, because sectional tests, you did not time them as well. But in
Yeah.
your FLTs, your challenge was, I think it was just, we'll have these late night memorization sessions, okay, and try to use that, okay, try to see if that comes onto your paper was the main thing, and to finish the paper on time, which was a huge challenge, right? So that was the main sort of challenge. Wahan pe I noticed that conclusions are basically getting a little compressed, or you're running out of time, something along those lines. Okay, you can actually see the difference if you compare the last few tests, jahan pe it is like within those 3 hours, vis-a-vis those tests that you had basically taken a little extra time. Okay, but again, you basically did only like 2 months. Okay, because in the first, a few days went away, and towards the end also, we basically had a few days gone for preparation. But within that, you had done whatever you had done is basically within that. So even from that perspective, it's just fabulous. Okay, so that's about the conclusion. Another thing is, in fact, I remember you were very interested in anthropology, and I remember that you noting down even in the next class, because next class my examples will be very different. I've seen very few people, you, okay, and your friend who helps you, and she, okay, so all of like every single example that I take, will be in that. So when I take a look at your handouts, I remember, exactly. So because I basically take things from what is happening around us on that particular day, from the current news, and what's on Twitter at that particular particular time period. Okay, so that is it. And I remember you taking it down, coming to class, and I feel if you don't have too much to take away from it, I used to give you assignments. And this is like so close to your prelims. In fact, once your mother called you
Yeah.
in class, okay, just to see where you are, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm not watching over you, your mother is watching you, you know, so that basically helped. Another thing that I basically saw is I mentioned about the value addition. See, this also you do it, okay? Right now, one good advantage that you're going to be having is that you have had a lot of value addition. And I remember what a challenge it was for you to sort of keep it all in your head and ensure that you're using it. Okay, I think you would have used it to a great extent because in that last stretch, we really did that memorization thing to the T. Okay, to a great extent. But still, when you're under that time wala challenge, see, let's say you want to write a conclusion. Okay, and in that particular conclusion, do you remember? You don't have 7 minutes to think about conclusion, right? You're already at 6 minutes and 45 seconds. You probably have 15 seconds. Jo aaya, maybe you have to go with it. Okay, if it clicks after you start your sentence, you can't go back and sort of fix it. So this time you already have a lot of value addition that is very unique and it is going to be very, very useful. You just see to it from the very beginning, you're able to sort of like, it might take you like, I think like 15, 20 days for you to sort of like, get in that rhythm and start using it from day one. Okay, so that way you don't have that challenge of doing everything at the end and then hoping that you're able to use it all. I'm sure you used it, okay, but this time I think it'll be relatively easy. Okay, that is another one. See, so overall, no, there is an anecdote I wanted to share. In fact, I had a session with another student. Generally, students call me, okay, from different institutes that I've taught at, faculty. Somebody will basically refer, this is one good student and he has tried and then he has scored in Goel. Can you basically speak to that person? Generally, these are students a little older. They've had some more attempts and all of that. So I think the student had basically seen your video or one of the videos on our channel. They reached out to me, and when I was speaking to that particular student, I said, "Can you share me something that you have done in recently, so that I'll be able to." So the student basically said, "I did one FLT paper 2 ke liye, I basically did a sectional for this particular topic because that's what I wanted." So then I said, maybe that is what lacked, right? So you didn't have time to practice. But then the students like, no, okay, it could be, okay, but it cannot be that a first timer can beat me. You get the picture, right? So this could be because if you have followed the wrong things, okay, it might have taken a student a long sort of duration. But right now, and the point here that I want to drive here is for you because you're not a first timer anymore. Okay, but as a first timer, you did it, right? There are going to be people, let's say that they have done a course, they have actually done all modules really well. They have a good understanding of Anthrop and they have done all the written work. They are up for the challenge. Okay, and they will bring that competitive spirit, provided somebody can just handhold and guide them while thing. So it should never be that the first timers are not good enough. Like so even within that small little period, there are people behind you. Okay, that's the point here. Okay, so there are people behind you. So you want to ensure that you have that same drive, same motivation, and same focus as well, right? In order for you to, because right now the challenge for you is that maybe you will start maybe like 20, 30 minus. Okay, then you have to basically push forth, right? And then you have, and here it is much harder to get these marks, right? So you might be in the top, let's say X. Okay, you want to be in the top point X. So then it becomes even harder, right? So this is going to be one of the challenges in things. One more thing that you basically did, and I think you bought into this particular idea from the very beginning. And I think this is again, as a first timer, you did it. Okay, what could be the secret sauce? Okay, you would invest 70% of your time into Anthrop. I've always told students, for the last 6-7 months, okay, you've been doing prelims se bahut sara GS pata hai, you can write something. Anthrop mein you cannot write something. Right? Even after preparing for 3 months and investing a lot of time, there are still questions that can, kick you. Right? And there are those questions. You really have to think it through and what could you bring in here? You will have things to bring in, but you really have to think it through. Right? So you want to invest. Why do you want to do so well in Anthrop? Okay, why not in some other sort of subject? Actually, optional may you will get a huge sort of a margin. Right? You had that margin. Okay, that margin basically took you and got you that rank. Right? And the reason why this is kind of very important is because Isbar also, you remember this, okay? Anthrop may, if you're not in the top margin, okay, your scores are decent, but it cannot get you a rank. Okay, there is only a very good, see, if you're in the top 10 in Anthrop or any of your option, okay, 99.99% of the chance is that you will be on that list. Okay, but if you're in the top 50, maybe not. Okay, but if you're in the top 10, if you're in the top 20, your score is going to give you like 40 marks ahead. 50 marks ahead. This year, I think Anthrop scores have basically come down a little bit. Okay, I, in fact, like me and ma'am were basically discussing, and apparently the number that I had put in is somewhere in the early 300s, somewhere in the 300s. Okay, not 310. Okay, somewhere there. Okay, and the breakup that I had written down is 160s and 140s. Okay, because paper one, I think, is your, paper one is your baby. Okay, I don't know why you are against paper two. But it's a joke, of course. Okay, but I think you love paper one. Okay, and I think you are very, very good at it. And when I said there are a few things that don't go your way, it is unfortunately that 25 marks that you had to leave in paper one. And apparently it is not the questions that you would have not known. Okay, or anything like that. It is just that the last few questions. In fact, I want to remind you, and let's see if I can do a share screen. Okay, now यहाँ पे if I just come here and I'm just showing our old messages, ठीक है? Let's come here. There you go. See, this was the message that I had basically given. So especially, that 25 marks that you had to leave, right? So one of the messages, I think this is the morning of the exam, the previous night of the exam. Again, and this is specifically for you, okay? Apart from the usual message, again, a reminder, it's impossible to top without filling all 50 pages because I was really worried that you will find that as a challenge. Finishing anthro is, and I don't think I've ever messaged you in all caps. Okay, these are screaming letters. Right, finishing anthro is a lot difficult than GS papers because you had, I think somehow you managed to sort of scrape through and finish your GS papers. Most of the papers, at least, I think you did. Okay, so, please do a little bit of writing beforehand, warm your fingers up. Okay, and I don't think you had time for that. Okay, and if you have to basically fill it out somehow, you make your diagrams bigger. In fact, one of the other things that I had mentioned is that, the last question that you're going to do is the last 5 10 markers. So 5 B, C, D, E is basically going to be a challenge anyway. Okay, so you write down what is your point, what is your, your points, your structure, your substantiation, keep everything ready so that, you can basically mechanically just write it down. But what happened is that, again, that paper one made that 25. Okay, and if you had that 25 marks to basically play with, because that time you were like really in that zone. Okay, whatever you had to write, I'm sure that it would have fetched you a good chunk. Okay, and that is that. But that is something that, that is something that we have to take with us and, ensure that this basically doesn't happen this year. In fact, I remember another thing is that this accountability thing also worked to a great extent. So if you see this here, I was just seeing just around this message, I also this, right? So, okay, we did what all this. Okay, so, FNT3 ka all value addition, FNT5, FNT6, ethnoarchaeology, value addition, theories on aging, theories on menarche, conclusions on bipedalism theory. Okay, this 17 and 18 are same, but you put it as 2 different things. Okay, you thought it'll, okay, not see too much into it, but all of these. Okay, and, and I have not given the time here, or maybe it is not appearing here. This was at like 1:30 in the morning. Okay, and this is, I think in the last 5 days or, during your FLTs and things like that. Okay, so a few more things. You go back and read this message as well. Okay, so this is something that I had told you beforehand. I don't want to dwell on all of these things, but there are many pointers here, something that you want to start from the very beginning. So basically the point is that we were very tactical on how to maximize. Okay, conclusion mein kitne marks hain, usko kaise maximize karna hai. Okay, where so all of those things are basically like, planned strategically, tactically and all of that. I think you were just, in the zone. Okay, and I really felt, in fact, the target that we had kept for you was, what is the target? Okay, I basically said that you have to be in the top 3 in the state. Okay, in your center basically. Okay, and I think that is something that you easily manage to a great extent. So that was exceptional. But this time I think the target is like much higher as well. See, paper 2 last year is something I was going through your paper as well. And I think again, this is, you're still very good in paper 2. Okay, but in comparison to your paper 1, I think paper 1, I think you have a natural sort of flow. Okay, I think you are a biology sort of student and I think you can write a lot more in that. Paper 2 May, one of the things that I would probably want to tell is, you have relatively you've taken a little bit of beating in paper 2. Okay, it's one of the highest scores for sure, but I think it is slightly on the lower end compared to your paper 1. I think it is because of overcompensation. Now, what do I mean by overcompensation? We'll again assess this like completely, you send me a question paper, we'll go through and all of that. But what must have happened is that in paper 1, you must have got out. Okay, and you realize that you have not completed the paper, and suddenly then you go back and your mother's like, what? And your mother was apparently very upset, and then I think you started crying. All these kind of things must have happened, all this drama. So when you went into paper 2, I think your only target was, jo bhi ho, finish the paper. Okay, jo bhi, like, I don't care, I'm just going to complete that paper is basically what you must have gone through. Because the reason why I bring this up is that if you go through the extra value addition towards the end, what I noticed there was that most of those value addition that I had given you towards the end was on paper 2. Okay, if you can go back, okay, you take a look at the PDFs, right? Those wala things which you had done. And in fact, I was seeing that even in your last FLT, okay, you were able to utilize it also, right? So you had done quite a bit of effort in that regard but maybe that did not make its way into the paper. That could be
So one thing is like the value addition that I received for paper 2 at the end was more about Indian society and tribal answer, and there are a bit of topics that seem repetitive in both. So like when the value addition was taken up, it kind of got mixed up in my mind because one, I did not have enough time to I did not learn them separately. I learned them all together. So they would get mixed up in my head, like Christianity of Indian society and Christianity of tribals. The scholars' name would all get mixed up. The books, their works, their observations,
I
everybody
know.
would
There are like tens for each question. Like, I was looking at your Islam and I had given like 10 different things, 10 different scholars, 10 different examples. I'm sure that it's not a very easy wala thing. And I'm sure that, it can get mixed up towards the end. See, that's why.
Yeah,
So this
that
year,
is one thing.
yeah, I'll just note that down. Go on.
Yeah, that was probably one thing. The other thing, as you mentioned, was me hurrying that I should complete the paper at any cost because paper 1 I did not. And as you know very well, I could never ever finish my papers on time in my entire test series. So there was that pressure built upon me by the end. Like I wanted to complete the papers at any cost, and when that did not go my way in my paper 1, so that put extra pressure on me in paper 2. I remember completing. I remember that I had also made those notes in those initial 5 minutes that I get. I had made notes for 5 ABCD for those lot of chronology and such questions. I had such 10 markers. I had made note of little pointers so that I
What
can
you
just
want to write.
mechanically write again. Yeah, the fact that I could not even write what I had written on the question paper was even more devastating because I have it on the question paper. I just could not put it in my answer paper. Had I even written the way I had written on the question paper, like just random tidbit points, I would have scored a bit better. So that kind of made me sadder in paper 1. So in paper 2, I was like not a bit. I was hurrying a lot. So by the end, I could finish my paper in when I still had like 3 more minutes, and that's a huge deal for me, considering that I never ever finished my paper ever before. So yeah, I guess that is another thing. So about value addition, it's that I messed up everything in my head.
Because I think you would have, I can't see another reason why, okay? Because I am sure that if you were able to sort of take all of these things, even this year, you were a candidate for sure of 160 plus in paper 1. Okay, and I really thought that paper 2 we've actually pushed you 150 plus, 155-ish, that kind of a thing, provided the paper is challenging, right? If it's an easy paper, it becomes difficult. Anybody and everybody can write enough, right? So if the paper is more analytical, it is when, if you read 10, 15 pages of a student who knows, who has studied well and who has a good anthropology sort of like essence in their head, you will be able to tell 10, 15, 20 pages mein pata chal jata hai, this kid is different. Okay, and you had it.
The paper 1 is all new, no? So it kind of attracts me. Paper 2 is more about the society that I already know. So probably that kind of puts me a bit off about studying again about the same thing. So maybe that is one more reason where I have special interest in paper 1.
We'll just keep a extra focus on paper 2 just in case. Okay, just like last, I always say to you guys, okay, you should score higher in paper 2. Okay, it is a lot easier. Okay, paper 1 में बहुत मजदूरी करके, you have to work very hard and then you get to that particular point, which you did. Okay, but there is a much easier way. यहाँ पे you are basically चढ़ के जाना है आपको. You basically have to walk all the way to the top. Here in paper 2, it's basically like a lift is there. Take the elevator, go up. Okay, it is going to help you to a great extent, but you will do it for sure. Okay, see, last year I felt like, I was also under a lot of pressure. You were also under a lot of pressure, right? Because we had very short period, and I before your call, I had to prepare a lot. Okay, what are the new things that I'm going to give you? What are the things that I have to, I have to set up? Like evening, you said as after you come back from home, come back home, you basically have to do your anthro. Okay, and you have some internalization sessions. I have to finish it. I have to sort of like polish it up. I have to basically sort of like convert it into PDF. I have to basically give it to you so that, in 3-4 hours, I'll basically get that, sir, done. Okay, ye wala message wala thing, right? So I understand that, and this time, so we will do it. Okay, so it's not an issue, but something to keep in mind. Okay, because assessment is kind of important, right? So because I really feel that, okay, so 160 plus in one paper, and at least, a good close to 150 could have been possible this year. But uske liye I've also written down 5 issues that I think we should sort of perfect next time. Okay, but I don't want to mention it here. You are perfect as it is so far as this video is concerned, right? But of course, where are we basically going to do? Where are we basically going to get that extra marks? Wala this thing. It is right here. Even now, I'll tell you this. Okay. See, you just fight it out till prelims. Okay, prelims to ho jayega. Okay, just like last time, and this time I think you will be a little more comfortable because you've been there, done that. Okay, last time you just don't know that you can do it, right? It's just that you because you're very first time clearing it. Pehla time aisa hi hota hai. This time ho jayega, but you just fight it out till the end. Uske baad again, you just try to ensure that we start the process soon. Okay, and not as late as last year. Try to keep the focus from the very beginning, and again minimize everything else. Okay, focus on execution. Right, last time the only test that we did at with the time wala limit is towards the end. Okay, although you were practicing, as I said, every single morning you used to get up and then you used to make some progress on it, and you progressed to a great extent. But as you said, because I remember your last FLT was that night prior, I was in Hyderabad and we were speaking, and, we were discussing that 30 marks you were not able to do. So next time, somehow it should not be more than 20 marks that you leave. Right, I think that's the last thing that we had talked about, and after that I don't think you wrote the last two, but you internalized it and did that. In fact, I want to say, okay, so in fact, just give me a second if I can just show you this, just to tell you how come such a high score. Now, I don't want to go into your papers at all, but just to remind you, okay, so this is how many pages, right? So this is basically 50 something pages. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, when you as a first timer have basically beaten, let's say out of 2000, maybe let's say you've beaten definitely like 1900 and something people, right? You've done it. Look at the number of pages of your effort. Okay, 54. So if you just take a look at this, I have a total of 18 tests here, right? And this is something that you have done in, if you can see this, basically like in that 2-month period. So as you said, you have put in all your blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, so this is no luck, right? This is absolutely not luck. Okay, so this is like, you take a look at this, that's a lot of effort, right? So this is a lot of effort, lots and lots of effort, lots and lots of effort. Okay, I think there must be some choice question that you have left, or maybe like one question. Generally, you don't leave it also, right? So you put in a lot of effort. So what you have done, so when I say that, even your very first attempt, you are going to score this, in that message also, I basically said, towards the end of that message, I basically just told you that, you have to believe that, your name is there on that particular list, because it is going to be. And that's basically what happened. And I think we spoke about this, just the day before the interview also, right? So, somehow, just hope that it goes well. At least, some rank you should basically be able to get, right? And you basically messaged me back. I think, before the result, you basically said, whatever it is, you were happy. Okay, you were satisfied that you fought it out, right? Prelims hua, and then mains ke liye, whatever you could possibly do, you've done it. Okay, and the interview also, you did your best with whatever it is, and then things have gone well. Of course, some things could have, we'll polish it up, wherever we had some issues. Okay, and that we will see to it that, this time it doesn't happen. You minimize your sources again, you start with the validation already. Okay, and we will try to, there will still be more. Okay, there are more things that have happened this year, okay, which has to come in, but a good chunk of it is going to be something that you're going to start with this year. Okay, you ended with all that last year, and that basically is something that could not make it to your paper towards the end, as you said. Okay, this time it's basically starting, so that is going to give you another edge, right? So again, the kind of person that you are, as you said, you put in the faith on your mentor. Okay, so great. For a person who can put in this kind of volume of effort, there is no substitute for this kind of an effort, right? So if somebody has to basically cross you, okay, they've got to be able to match you in the kind of volume. Okay, and that volume, it cannot be just in reading, right? It's in terms of like applying your mind, right? So all of those. See, for instance, now I'll just give you, so a lot of the questions, right? See, one of the question was basically this year you had a question on Australopithecines. I don't know if you remember these questions and all that. So Australopithecines is not only a question about Australopithecine. In fact, just give me a second.
Paranthropus and Paranthropus robustus.
Yes. What was the question? See, for instance, discuss the major species of Australopithecus discovered from South and East Africa. Okay, describe the discovery. Okay, describe the physical features and the significance of the 𝗍𝗶𝗍𝗆. Okay, so what does this question ask you? So for a student who's studying this, okay, they might think that this is a question about Australopithecines. Whatever I know, I'll basically put it. Actually, it is not. right? There are a lot of nuances that are involved here. First of all, you have to basically talk about all the major species about this, right? So what will it be and what have they asked? Okay, so South and East Africa. Okay, those are the portions where you have found them. Okay, describe the discovery. So for discovery and physical features. Okay, so Australopithecus scale, you basically have to talk about this. So you have your Australopithecus so you have your robustus and voice in the Paranthropus side. You have your Africanus. You have your Afarensis lucy, right? And then you basically go about all the physical features. You write about all the discoveries. Okay, cultural features are kind of important, but not asked here, right? So the osteodontocerattic and basically the counterpoint to that, okay, the Raymond art and all of that, okay, so that's not something that is here. Instead, what have they asked? They asked you the significance of one particular one, that is the Taung baby or the Taung child.
Okay.
Okay, so that is basically your Africanus. So why is Africanus kind of important? Now people will be like significant, it is a great discovery, all that kind of stuff, matlab 5 point, right? But if you are well prepared, okay, it's not a very easy paper, right? Matlab, you have to think why Africanus is important. Why Taung child was kind of important. Taung child is basically important because this is the first one that was found outside of your Neanderthal and your Homo erectus in Asia. This is the first one that basically shows that geographically speaking, Africa is the cradle of civilization. In fact, in the beginning, there were debates that ye human ka nahi hai, ye chimpanzee hi hai, right? All of that. So this is basically an important sort of point. So it's not about the number of points that you write, it's about the actual importance. Nomenclature wise, until then, we basically said ki Homo neanderthal, Homo erectus. This is the first one that basically told us that last common ancestor say, the first one that we are basically coming to is Australopithecus, okay, the southern ape man. So ape naya genus basically came up. And as you found more different ones, that you basically added Africanus, you added Afarensis, Andamensis, so all of those kind of things. So basically, you were in that particular kind of a zone where you will be able to connect many things here. Okay, and why so? Because you trained yourself to be able to apply this again and again and again, jahan pe you were at your peak capacity. So you really truly deserved that very, very high sort of. Okay, but considering we had a very short window, you started and then you basically gave it your all. Okay, we are going to say it is it's amazing, it's fantastic that you basically made it to a rank list, because at the end of the day, we do anthropology for what? Okay, of course it is to enjoy, but at the end of the day, there should be light at the end of the tunnel. That is your all India rank 370. 70? 79, okay, right? So 79 wala this thing. So this time we'll ensure that you even within mains you try to get to that like a double digit sort of a rank, okay, within that mains. And after that, I'm sure that you will do well in interview and we don't control that too much, but of course you put in that effort, right? So we have to feel satisfied ki jo bhi mujhe karna tha, like whatever I had to do, whatever I could do, I basically did. Now this is basically my score, and let's hope for the best wala thing, right? You're totally capable. The other aspects, the challenges and those kind of things, we will basically work on. If possible, you send me the question paper ka, whatever you have written and things like that. We'll basically just catch up on those things. So overall, what do I want to say? I want to say, Yashaswini, again, Yashaswini, do you want to leave a message for the other students who are watching, who are basically trying to follow your footsteps? Not necessarily in the very first attempt, or but who are searching for that that elusive rank.
That's a difficult question to answer, sir. Firstly, sir, I would like to say that we need not go with just what somebody else says. For example, I might just tell them something, they need not follow the exact same thing, because what works for me need not work for them. But I'm sure what works for everybody is their efforts. So that is one thing that I would like to point out, putting efforts into whatever we're doing would bear us fruits. And apart from that, yes, revision of one source 10 times rather than 10 sources once. That's another thing that I would like to say.
And if they're able to do all of this, then, the rank list in the very first attempt, very first mains, or, whenever it is their attempt, I'm sure that they can do it, right? See, actually, it's an inspiring talk, okay? And you're very down to earth as well. And you've also shared quite a bit of like how you've done it, okay? Also, a lot of your secret sauce. Actually, there's no secret sauce, but okay, exactly what was your journey? You basically shared. Thank you so much. Okay, heartfelt thanks to take some time out and basically just interact with me and through me indirectly.
Oh my
with the
God,
others.
sir, you're just
Okay.
giving me too much credit, sir. I should be saying all those lines. Those are my lines you're stealing. Heartfelt thanks to you about this whole answer journey, not just being my optional, but rather being a subject of my interest. So thank you a lot. And it has been my honor to be a part of this journey with you. So thank you so much, sir.
You're most welcome, and you've been a fabulous student. Okay, I will generally, I have to say this, okay, because whatever I've asked of you, you would give everything trying for it. Okay, so that's like a a great student to have, and generally, you basically get like one student every maybe a couple of years, hopefully a lot more a common wala this thing. So from that particular perspective, you've just had a great fight with UPSC 2023. Okay, you basically broke down the wall. Okay, or the door that basically, that UPSC door for you. Okay, so I wish you the very best, especially with this coming year, because our job is not done yet. Okay, it is done
Yes,
in a
sir.
way because, you have given relief to your mother, you've given relief for yourself, job security, these are things that you don't have to bother about. Okay, that, something big is waiting for you. So heartfelt thanks again. And I'm sure that, you inspire everybody. I know that all my students seem to know you or know of you. Okay, now everybody will be looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, and we will catch up soon. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.